BMW's M Light or M Performance models have delivered some very impressive machinery over the years. But does that still carry over with electric rather than petrol propulsion? Well, this is the BMW i5 M60 Touring, and I'm going to run you through the outside, take a look inside, and then go for a drive. So let's get stuck into it, because it's really bloody cold. And of course, just as we start filming, they fire up the brush cutters, but hopefully you can't hear that too much. Okay, running around the outside. Handsome car. I think it looks better as a wagon than as a sedan. Nice blue. It's a very big car. It's actually longer than an E65 7 Series, 3-meter wheelbase, 2,350 kilograms. So there is a lot of mass here. Wheels look good, they're 21s, and they give you a little bit extra tyre. It's another 10 mil each end compared to standard overseas at least. We've got 255s at the front, 285s at the back. Big M Performance brakes, 4-piston calipers there. They're Continental or Eco contacts though, so they're not a particularly performance tyre. And given how much this thing weighs, we'll see what that ends up like. We've got, LED lights everywhere, bit of carbon. So this is 442 kilowatts from a pair of motors. We've got one electric motor in the front, one electric motor in the back. 442 kilowatts, 820 Newton meters in sport mode. In sort of everyday mode, you get a little bit less. So that's basically as much power, more or less, as the previous M5, and at 0 to 100 in 3.9 seconds. It's pretty much as fast as the previous M5 as well, but this thing is $220,000 plus on-road costs, so it nearly cost as much as the previous M5 too, and I will come back to that later in the video. Around the other side we have the charging port, DC fast charging obviously, 81.2 kilowatt hour battery, and you can charge it up to 205 kilowatts. DC charging, but the size of the battery means that even on an 11 kilowatt AC wall box, it's going to take 8.5 hours to go from 0 to 100. So it will take quite a long time to charge fully. Now before we hop inside, this is an estate or a wagon or a touring, so let's look at the boot. M60 there. Open this up. Decent size, actually pretty good size. 570 litres officially. So my camera gear there and the charge cable. Got a 12-volt outlet, remote release, the back seats, and this blind works quite nicely too. It's kind of nicely damped. But now let's hop inside. Electric tailgate too. So now we're inside. I'll work my way from the back to the front. I'll lift my son's car seat in here because it's kind of a good barometer of how much space there is. As you can see, there's plenty. This fits in really easily. Isofix points work really well. Drop down here with some cup holders. I sit quite close to the wheel, but as you can see, I've got room to spare here. Even with the glass roof, I've got heaps of headroom, I've got heaps of knee room, plenty of foot room. So that's the advantage of this 3-meter wheelbase. It's as long as a 7 Series, but you get 7 Series type space. Let me just reach forward and put that on. So you can see quad zone climate control here, as you'd hope at this price point. So each side gets their own temperature. We've got a pair of USBs here and a pair of USB-Cs down here. This is because this little thing here is BMW sells you a tablet holder. So that clicks in there, click, and you can put an iPad there for the kids if you want, or the adults I suppose. And then obviously there's a USB-C point here, so it's easy to plug in rather than having to go down there. Quite a clever touch. Material quality is really good. We've got, what's up there? There'd be another partition there, I think, that goes across to partition off. If you have the rear seats down, that will then create a partition between the front seats and the luggage area. I think that's what that's for. Apart from that, yeah, good. Seats nice and comfy. It's a really nice place to be. The only thing that's missing is probably sunshades, which I think are in the M5. So I don't know why they aren't in this as well, because they're a really handy feature. Let's hop in the front. Okay, so up front it's pretty typical 5 Series, and there's not really a lot wrong with that because it's a nice interior, as you'd hope for this much money. Plenty of leather, a bit of piano black that'll show up fingerprints and whatnot, but dual wireless charging pads, plenty of spaces for cups and bottles and whatnot. Seats are very good, heated and ventilated as well, as you can see here. 3 options for each. You know, carbon. Got the quasi interaction bar from the i7. It's not quite as flash as in the i7, but you've got these little sliders for your vents and whatnot, and these control the vents, which are all sort of hidden behind here. You can change this color, which purple is my son's favorite color, so that's why we made it purple, and it will guarantee to entertain the kids for at least 5 seconds. Obviously, it's got this dual widescreen setup, which is in every BMW. The fact that it's in every BMW from 1 Series through to sort of 8 Series and the very top of the range does make it feel a bit more homogeneous. Like, what am I getting as an experience for my significant extra spend? But it works well for a 1 Series buyer because they get the same screens. Wireless smartphone mirroring, which is good. Doesn't want to swipe, but there we go. That's better. As you can see, there's just so much in this system, which is crazy. There we go. You can get your Apple, your CarPlay maps as well. Way too much to go through. There's some gaming. I haven't tried that because I don't really want to go gaming in my car, but if you want to dive in as an owner, there's a heap in here. Now, I was going to criticise, or it's easy to criticise this layout for eradicating all the hard buttons. You've got a few down here, but you go, where's all the hard buttons? Everything has to be done through the screen. Not so. I've discovered that hidden around the interior are these little things with 3 lines on them. So you've got one here, takes you straight to the drive modes. And we can sort of adjust those. Got one up here, takes you straight to ambient lighting. We've got another one down here, which takes you straight to the lighting system. So it's actually not bad. I mean, I wish someone had pointed that out to me, but it wasn't too hard to figure out, I guess. And, oh yeah, another one takes you straight to the seating. So that's good. So they are actually, while at first glance it looks like they've eradicated all the hard buttons, they are still there. You've just got to someone's got to tell you where they are and what they do. So before we hit the road, I want to show you just a clever bit of technology in this car. Would you ever use it? I'm not sure, but it is clever and it's worth a look. So what I did earlier was I just did a parking maneuver. You can hit record new path, drive, and the car will save what you've done. And then once you get to the point, comes up here. So it's recognized the GPS point that I did. It's recognized that I'm at that point. So now I can just press start recorded path 2. Feet off the pedals, hands off the wheel, and the car is now in control. You can do this for quite a large distance, I think a couple of 100 meters. And you can also do it via the app, I believe. So if you've got a really, really tight car park space that you struggle to get in and out of, you can actually drive the car in itself, although you have to do it to begin with. I don't really know when you'd ever use this practically because it's not that hard to just park your car. But it's worthwhile seeing because it's an amazing bit of technology. I tried to flummox it here by giving it a reverse to do as well, but it's no dramas. It shows what the car is doing, shows the path and how long it's still got to go on the screens here. You can see it's now stopped. It's now selected reverse all by itself, and now it will park in. And if something comes into its way, I believe it will steer around it or stop. It also does it very slowly for safety reasons. So again, if you can think of a practical use for this, please let me know. But it is quite remarkable in the accuracy of the system. And then when it's finished, it selects park, and there we are, we're done. Now, let's take this thing for a drive. Now we're driving. So there are some really impressive aspects of this car and a couple of very unimpressive aspects. But I'm going to deal with the good stuff first. First and foremost, this is a lovely car to drive. Obviously, being an EV, it's very quiet. You have the instant torque, that surge of power. But what's really probably most impressive about this car is the ride quality. This is an M model, in performance model, so it's sporty, but even on, this is a pretty bumpy road, and it feels fantastic. It's one of those cars that the ride is almost better than the regular models because you've got control. It's got fantastic body control. It doesn't feel heavy. It feels like regular 5 Series weight, 1800, 1850. Certainly doesn't feel 2.4 tons with me in it, at least not at this sort of cruising speed, which, is what you really want in a car that's still going to be an everyday sort of machine. Makes it a great cruiser. Now to this tight corner. As you can also hear, it's got a bit of sound to it. You can turn that off and make it purely quiet. It's called iconic sounds, I think. But I actually don't mind it. It's a bit spaceshipy, but when you're just accelerating away from the lights, it's not a million miles away from some of the synthesized exhaust sounds we get these days. So I've left it on because I actually don't mind it. The other thing is the steering. I drove the 540D last week and it has really light steering. Now I know I talk a lot in my videos about not wanting added steering weight, and that's true, but this has enough weight to feel like the steering wheel is actually connected to something. The 540 is too much, it's too wheel twirly, it feels artificial. Whereas this, it's nice, it's direct, there's no real slack in it. Don't hold me to this, I'm pretty sure this car's got all-wheel steering too, so even though it's quite long, I should have checked that, but even though this car's quite long, it still makes it pretty manoeuvrable in tight spaces because you've got those rear wheels helping out. In fact, the steering is such that I can even put it in sport mode here, and it doesn't just turn it into a syrupy, frictiony mess. A little bit more weight, but it's still light and easy to steer. The other part of that is now I've got the full 442 kilowatts and 820 Newton meters. So this thing is rapid. Whoa! A couple of big bumps there, and then it did feel very heavy, but this is a very gnarly road. This car is fast, as you'd hope, because that's probably why you're going to buy it. Those big outputs, that acceleration, and being EV rockets you back in the seat the minute you hit the accelerator. Even though I've got it in sport mode now, if you want to access it at any time, there's a left-handed paddle here called boost. So if you just pull that, gives you a 10-second countdown of maximum power in case you need to overtake, or if you just feel like going fast. So we kind of dealt with the good stuff. This is a refined car, it's a comfortable car, it's very fast, it's still enjoyable to drive. I think it's easily got a big enough ceiling, being an M performance model, not a full fat M model, to go as fast as anyone would reasonably want it to go. It's very nice to drive on a day-to-day basis, lots of kit, etc, etc. So what's the problem? The first problem is I picked this car up with 98% battery and it had 370 kilometers of range left, and that's not very much. Yes, it's cold at the moment in a Melbourne winter, not freezing, but 10 degrees or 12 degrees. And having an M badge, it might have been driven quite quickly in its previous loan, which skewed things a little bit. But the fact remains, and it's a problem with all performance EVs, which is a bigger topic for another time, it really limits how you can drive this thing. Yes, there's an efficient mode, which will limit your speed and limit your aircon and get you more range, but it's an M60. You bought this thing to go fast, to feel that acceleration, to use its performance. And the fact remains that this, inefficiency does limit what you can do with it. You're not going to take it on a big, fast road trip. And again, driving around town, 400 odd Ks is enough and plenty for day-to-day use. But then why not just buy a regular one? Well, you can't because BMW doesn't offer it. It only offers the Touring in this M60 or an M5, but it does hurt the car somewhat. The other issue is depreciation, which is not something I normally talk about. This car is $220,000, right? So about 240-ish on road, 240, 250, depending on if you get it, you know, what color, etc., etc. So I thought I'd look on car sales and see what they're like secondhand, slightly used. And the news isn't good. You can get an i5 M60 Touring with like 2,000 Ks on it for $130,000 to drive away. And it's not an isolated incident either. 130, 135, 140. If you buy one of these new, you're going to take a hammering. It's going to lose like 80, 90, $100,000 within 5,000 Ks. And again, that's a problem with kind of all EVs, especially expensive ones. Audi's not immune to it. Mercedes isn't immune to it. Porsche is a little bit less immune, a little bit more immune to it, but it's a tough sell when you're paying this much for a car and the value goes like this. So what's the final wrap up, the final verdict on the i5 M60 Touring? As you've probably surmised, hopefully it's been made clear, this is a lovely car, really nice. But I just see it stuck in a bit of no man's land. BMW only offer this and the M5 as a Touring, whereas I feel like an i5 40 Touring would be a better choice, which you can't get. You can get it overseas, but you can't get it in Australia. Now there'll be reasons for why BMW's product planners did that, but I don't really understand them because the 40 has everything that's great about this car. Nice interior, comfort, reasonable pace, still handles very well, lots of practicality, lots of equipment. For a cheaper price, you're not going to get the same depreciation hit and you're going to get lots more range, making it a more usable car. If you want something like this, if you're a performance fan, get the M5 Touring. It's now about another 40, 45 grand, which I understand isn't nothing. That's quite a big sum of money, but 220 to 265, I don't feel like it's a huge jump when you get A, an M5, B, massive performance, you know, 500 and, what was it, 50 kilowatts, 1,000 Newton meters, the added flexibility of that internal combustion engine, plus the ability to still do the EV stuff if that appeals to you, because it's got enough range to run EV day to day. So I just find it hard to make a case for the i5 M60, nice as it is. I'll be able to test that more thoroughly because I swapped this for the M5 Touring next week, and you'll be able to see a video on that shortly. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.